Visiting Treblinka today, you might never guess it was the second deadliest Nazi extermination camp, surpassed only by Auschwitz. Although nearly as many lives were lost here, little remains of the original site today, much of it lies quietly hidden within the surrounding forest. As the Nazis retreated from Poland, they deliberately destroyed the camp to erase evidence of their crimes, fearing discovery by the advancing Soviet forces. Despite the limited physical remnants, Treblinka tells a powerful and haunting story. This video provides everything you need to know about visiting Treblinka, from its historical significance to practical travel tips and why it deserves a place in your Poland itinerary. Along with Auschwitz, Belzec, Chełmno, Majdanek and Sobibor, Treblinka was one of the 6 major Nazi death camps established during the Holocaust. It was built for the mass extermination of Jews, primarily from Poland, as part of the Nazis' final solution. Originally opened in November 1941 as a forced labor camp, Treblinka was expanded just 7 months later with the creation of Treblinka II, a hidden killing center about a mile away. Between 700,000 and 900,000 people were murdered here in just over a year, making it the second deadliest Nazi camp after Auschwitz. At Treblinka, victims arrived by train, had their belongings taken, and were sorted into those who would live or die immediately. Those marked for death were led through a tunnel, called the Tunnel to Heaven by survivors, into gas chambers disguised as showers. Carbon monoxide from tank engines killed them within 20-30 minutes. At its peak, Treblinka claimed 12,000 to 15,000 lives per day, with most victims murdered within hours of arrival. These small stones you see in the ground show you the narrow way that was once the tunnel. Treblinka is located about 100 kilometers northeast of Warsaw and is reachable by car in roughly an hour and a half. It is no coincidence that the first transport of Jews to Treblinka II on July 23, 1942 came from Warsaw Ghetto. If you would like to learn more about the history of the Warsaw Ghetto, I invite you to watch the video I have created on these subjects. You can find the link in the video description. A few months after the establishment of Treblinka II, transports began arriving not only from various regions of occupied Poland, but also from Austria, Czechoslovakia, France, Germany, Greece, Yugoslavia, and the Soviet Union. While the nearby Treblinka I was originally established as a forced labor camp with a quarry, the construction of Treblinka II in 1942 marked a drastic and deadly shift. It was not designed for labor, but solely for mass murder. Treblinka II became a highly efficient killing center dedicated to the systematic extermination of as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time. In early 1943, Treblinka's prisoners formed a resistance group, and on August 2, fearing the camp's imminent liquidation, they acted. Hundreds stormed the main gate in a desperate escape attempt. Many were shot, but around 300 managed to flee. Of those, only about 100 survived the war. On November 1943, following the prisoners' revolt in August and the near completion of a campaign to exterminate Polish Jews, the camp was liquidated. The buildings were dismantled and the remaining prisoners were executed, often shot in the back of the head. The SS destroyed the killing center and burial sites, covering them up and planting flowers to hide the evidence. The bodies of the murdered Jews were dug up from the mass graves and burned to completely remove any evidence of the crimes. Today, an installation marks the location where these bodies were burned, serving as a reminder of the horrors that took place here. The Germans also built a house on the site using bricks from the gas chambers and installed an Ukrainian family to pose as farmers, further attempting to cover up the camp's true purpose. No original structures from the Treblinka extermination camp still exist today. Following the end of the war, the Soviet government made no attempt to preserve the site, and the area was abandoned, eventually fenced off, and even further landscaped over. A massive monument was eventually erected in remembrance in 1958 at the former location of the gas chambers. The monument consists of a large stone obelisk symbolizing the victims and resembling a bit the Western Wall in Jerusalem. It is surrounded by hundreds of smaller stones, each representing the individuals who perished at Treblinka and the location from which the Jews came from. Few photographs remain from Treblinka, but some taken by the Germans are displayed near the monument. One particularly disturbing image shows a zoo that the Nazis created in Treblinka, where they spent their leisure time. Just a few meters away, thousands of people were dying every day. The Treblinka monument is easily accessible with a short 10-15 minutes walk from the main parking area. If you wish to continue to Treblinka 1, however, you'll need to follow a path that stretches near 4 kilometers through a serene and scenic pine forest. Along the way, you'll first come across the site of a former quarry, followed by the remains of a labor camp. Next to the parking, for the small entrance fee of just 7 zloty, you can explore also a small museum dedicated to the camp's history, which provides detailed accounts of the camp's operation, its resistance efforts, and the victims who were murdered there. The museum houses various artifacts, photographs, and documents from the time. One of the key reasons to visit Treblinka is simply to bear witness. The Nazi regime went to great lengths to exterminate millions and cover up their crimes. The victims of Treblinka and the horrors that unfolded here could have been easily erased from history. We must remember their stories and honor their courage in the face of unimaginable cruelty. For no other reason, we must visit Treblinka to ensure that the horrors here are never forgotten.